most people don't manage storage for fun. The point is you want to get something out of it. I've worked in the finance sector where they have tons of valuable data they don't do anything with. And I find that ironic because in the finance sector, they talk about opportunity cost, right? And how much value you're not getting because you're not doing something. So I'd be interested in some use cases, some examples where this approach really helps a company get back to their core business and actually extract value. Because most of your customers are not in the data management business, I think. So,
I mean, a really good example actually is right now we have several pharmaceutical companies that are using our product, and some of them are building COVID vaccines, and so what they've done is using our software, they move data to the cloud. And, because it helps, if you're a pharmaceutical company doing research, you're generating several terabytes of data every day. That's what your scientists are generating. So it becomes overwhelming to keep all that data in your data centers.
Yeah.
So we help these companies move petabytes of data into the cloud. But because of the way we're moving it, their researchers tag the data, and Komprise carries all those tags into the cloud. And they actually, some of the, one of our customers is a global pharmaceutical company. Another research team in another country, which didn't have access to the US data centers, was able to use the data we put in the cloud using the tags, kind of we essentially are able to build a virtual data lake for them, for that tagged data for COVID, and use that for their research. So we actually saw a very practical application right now for COVID research, right?
Yeah.
Because the data was tagged and because it was available natively in the cloud, other geographies of this company were able to pick up that data set very easily instead of having to wait to gain access to a US data center and then work through laws to try to migrate the data and all of that, which would have taken so much time.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, that's a good use case because I know that just processing that data has so many stages, so many different stages with different requirements, different performance. And just that alone means you have to constantly be moving that data, and the fact that there is actually the cloud is amazing because I think in the old days that somebody would have had to get on an airplane and go somewhere, that this stuff can just be in Amazon and somebody in Switzerland or in California or wherever can just get that data, put it on a high-speed storage, process it, and then put it back again.
So, yeah, and they don't even have to put it on high-speed storage. Right? That's what I mean by you don't want to send data to the cloud for it to die there. I mean, there's so much computing power in the cloud.
Yeah.
So you want to do some quick analysis on it, just spin up some compute instances in the cloud, do the analysis, and then you don't need the computer anymore. Push the data back down to a cheap tier. I mean, that means data is living in the cloud. It's consuming less resources when you're not using it. But when you want to use it, you can promote it up and use it in the cloud itself. You don't have to bring it back.
Yeah. No, that's the whole, I guess the whole goal is we shouldn't care again. We should actually turn the cloud into that little cloud diagram again. Yeah. I'm curious also, like other types of use cases, like for instance, things like pharmaceuticals are, in the headlines, but there's also, I think, a lot of ordinary, quote unquote, ordinary businesses that don't make the headlines that are maybe not even necessarily tech focused, things like, manufacturing or automotive or, logistics, things like that. How have you seen these sort of problems be solved in those areas?
Yeah, manufacturing and engineering design in general. I mean, that's another area that has a lot of data. We have a lot of manufacturers as our customers, and places like Cadence Design Systems, Qualcomm. These are our customers, and for them, one of the problems they have is any new product they build has a very long lifetime. It might have a 15-year support lifetime, but once they've designed it, they don't need all that data immediately accessible. They just need to keep it around, but it doesn't need to consume the most expensive resources, right? So by us moving data out when it's no longer active, but still make it accessible, so they can still see it if they want to bring that project back, or if they got a support problem on it and they had to open all those files, they can still get to it, but it's not actively being managed. We're able to save those companies millions of dollars, typically about 60 to 70% of their storage budget. We're able to save them.
Wow. Where do you see the biggest savings come from usually in these environments?
Yeah, it's interesting. You probably know this, but most companies, you cannot afford to only keep one copy of data because that would be a risky strategy. So most companies keep, many copies, typically 3, sometimes 7, 10 copies of data, because you have a data center, you have data there, then you replicate it to a mirror site in case something happens here. Then you keep 3 or 4 backups of it in case you get hit by a virus or something. And now you have 7, 8 copies of this data suddenly, right? And that all makes sense if you're actively using the data. But if you haven't touched this data in a year, do you still need these 8 copies of this data on your expensive flash storage in an expensive flash mirror, consuming backup licensing and all of that, right? And we take all that cold data and we move it off to something cheaper, and we reduce all those extra copies. It's not that, by putting it on a durable storage. So that's how we're able to save them money, because we essentially say actively manage your hot data and you should passively manage your cold data. Don't treat all data the same. And it's not that people don't know that they shouldn't treat all data the same. It was just too difficult to do it before.
Yeah. If I am the, at least the CIO of a company, maybe it's somebody reporting to the CIO, where do you begin this journey? Assuming you're not already a little bit down this path, like where do you start? What should I look at or measure or think about?
Yeah, you cannot measure what you don't know. So I think it all starts with visibility. How do you get a good picture of what you have, what you're spending, and how your data is growing? And that's the thing, we start with visibility. We first give the analytics, because you can, without that insight, without knowing what you have, you're just taking shots in the dark all the time. And it's all guesswork.
Yeah. And what's a good way to start with that measurement? Is there a way probably a lot of companies have a fair amount of complexity. Is there a way to kind of look at what you have currently and make a judgment on where to begin, or the
Yeah,
easy?
absolutely. Yeah, we have a trial, and we actually engage with customers. We will show them actually what's in their storage and what it's costing them. So if a customer wants to engage, they can just reach out to komprise.com and sign up for a demo and a trial, and we'd be happy to show it to them. It's very simple. They don't need to make any changes to their infrastructure to start getting that analytics. We will help them with that.
Yeah, that's great. And I think when it comes to anything around your data, that any vendor can show up and tell you all kinds of things, but you'll never know how it works until you try it with your own data, because it's all so unique now.